I think this is one of the most competitive Black Mark Awards we've had. I was actually taking a look at it last night. I was like, oh, I'll just add all the winners to the sheet. And I'm looking at these categories. There were several ties with over 24 votes. So I had to re-ping. I was like, guys, last minute, get your votes in. Like, we need to break some of these ties. So we've almost done that. There's still one tied category, and I don't know how to resolve it. I think we might need to get some feedback from the audience about how this one goes down. Do they both get a prize? Do they have to frigate 1v1 and the winner gets it? I'm not sure. But let's get into it. Now, I know the results.
At dawn.
Yeah, exactly. I know the results here. Aster and Jimmer do not. So we're going to get their live reactions. Let's get into it. The coveted FC of the Year Award. Your nominees were myself, Arcata Soul, and George Mitchell. And the winner, by a sizable margin, George Mitchell from Hard Knocks.
Oh, wow. Well done. All right.
Yeah, well done. It was one of the categories where I assumed Alec would win, just by, not downplaying his FCing, but by virtue of being the host of the show.
I thought it was going to be Arcadia, so, hey, surprise, surprise. That's cool. Well done, man. Congratulations.
I am proud of the audience for not voting for me, because honestly, while I was thinking about it last night, actually, I've had some good fights this year, but I've also had some pretty big mistakes, and I'm thinking of the two cornerstone campaigns that I think of as the real highlights for me last year. One was the participating in the rehab campaign against Absolute Menace Coalition, as I like to call them, in Providence. And we did really well in that campaign. I think we were a huge part of the outcome there, and the fact that we opened up a second front. We killed the first structure that anyone had managed to kill off of Red. And, I think we did well, but the overall outcome of that campaign was really more dictated by the initiative deciding to deploy and join in on everything than any single thing I did. I wasn't even involved in trying to get them over here, so. And then the other one was the defense of the reef, which, while we put up a valiant fight and were able to secure many, many billions of ISK of loot that the attackers did not get, I think you'd be hard-pressed to say it was a success on any level. We lost all the structures. We didn't win a single fight. We were up against some pretty stiff odds, but wasn't really able to overcome them. So I don't really think I had that great of a year, especially compared to Arcadios. Again, Goonswarm won one of the most decisive coalition-level victories the game has ever seen in Goonswarm defeating PanFam completely disbanding. And George Mitchell with Hard Knocks, the Wormhole CFC has had a banner year of complete dominance in Wormhole space. I'm not aware of any fight they've lost off the top of my head this year. So I'm happy to be nominated. Thank you guys. But I do think this is a good pick. I'm a little surprised Arcadius didn't come out on top considering the outcome of one of the other awards later. But congratulations to George Mitchell. We'll try to get him on the show and see if he can tell us a little bit more about FCing for one of the top-end Wormhole alliances in the game.
Well, that would be really cool, actually. Yeah.
Now, Doctrine of the Year, to no one's surprise, I'm sure, nearly 50% of the vote for the Cenotaph, beating out Barbecue Redeemers a distant second place.
Yeah, okay. I was officially kind of on the Cenotaph Love Tap side. That's kind of where I was at, but I was I recall saying in the last one, man, I really respect the amount of technique it takes to make those Barbecue Redeemers work. But yeah, it's not really a shock that the Cenotaphs won. They really are a force multiplier to be reckoned with.
I guess my slight hesitance was I don't know that anyone really ran a Cenotaph doctrine so much as tried to incorporate it into other doctrines. So I think the Cenotaph as a single ship type yeah, of course, it was one of the more dominant ones. But I felt like doctrine-wise, I think game-wide, the BBQ Redeemers, certainly for Noir and Shadow Cartel proper, the Vengeance. And then I'm looking at all the nullsec fights that we're having out here in Dronelands. Every single one of them is nightmares. So I would have picked either of those three ahead of the Cenotaph one, but, the audience has spoken. Aster?
No, yeah, I'm on a similar page. The Cenotaph definitely feels more like a fleet support ship, despite being a DPS-oriented ship. And I am a little disappointed that the other doctrines didn't get to shine. The Barbecue Redeemers are by far the most fascinating elevation of the game's mechanics and pushing them to their limits, whereas the Cenotaphs have drawn the ire of a number of people as well for being a little bit too oppressive from a game balance perspective. So a little bit surprised to see them get voted as, well, I'm not sure what the actual reasoning for votes is. Is it the most fun or the most interesting? Because in my opinion, the Cenotaph shouldn't have won on either of those counts.
I'm thinking that maybe it was because, and I can't speak for anybody specifically who's voting for it, but my guess would be that a lot of people were voting on what they had seen more of. And while Alec is right that nobody's as far as anybody's aware, building full doctrines around Cenotaphs, you see them sprinkled like salt on the stew in every fleet, and they become, like I said, this force multiplier. And so when they become that ubiquitous, I think people are like, yeah, that's the one. But I agree, when you really look at it from an analytical perspective, I agree with Aster. I really love the Barbecue Redeemers. I'm not disappointed, but because I was officially on the Cenotaph side. But yeah, I can see it both ways.
And hey, the less people that are aware about how strong assault frigates can be, the better for Noir. So I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that
ties
cat's
right
out of
into
the
our
bag.
best game update. Now, this was a much more close category, but edging out the other competitors by only a handful of votes, the Cenotaph Nerf.
Wow, that's awesome. That's funny.
Which, I guess that makes sense. So what were people voting on? I read this as they were voting on sheer impact. The Cenotaph was such a powerful ship at launch. Even post-nerf, it's still a huge threat to any battlecruiser, battleship, capital ship comp. And now, certainly pre-nerf, you kind of had to plan your whole your whole approach around it, and wormhole space in particular was such a powerful weapon that your entire game plan had to revolve around how you would either use or counter the Cenotaph. So that kind of makes sense. Along with this, people are going, the Cenotaph nerf was the biggest thing you could do. Beat out the carrier quality of life stuff, beat out the mining revamp from the Catalyst expansion.
I'm going to just put something out there because I think it's perfectly logical that the Cenotaph nerf took the prize this time around. But I think we should revisit this in a year and just kind of ask ourselves, or maybe have just a little side question of, do you still think that was the most impactful? Because I feel like the Catalyst revamp was still pretty fresh, and I don't think that we're going to see all of the follow-on changes and consequences that it's going to cause in the game for weeks or months. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. A number of industrialists I work with are still hesitant to reopen their market interactions because the mineral market, especially around high-sec, is still so very volatile. So we're yet to see the full ripples of that update. So that's not a terrible shout.
Moving on to the Shuttlethron Award for Best Fail of the Year.
Dun, dun, dun.
There were two options. I am shocked, not at who won. I think we all agreed in the previous show this is going to be a foregone conclusion. But just how many votes the second place got. Nearly 25% of the votes went to a 500 bill shuttle loss. But 500 bill pales in comparison to the amount of ISK that was lost due to sheer incompetence and hubris when Gobbin's evac pings and Horde subsequently collapsed over the course of a couple days. Trillions of ISK wiped out in in asset fees alone, not even factoring in the stuff that got destroyed.
It's absolutely incredible. Yeah, no surprise there, I don't think, but still, I'm just agog at the numbers.
Yeah.
And best propaganda, we had Warlock Industries up for an award for their coverage of the Goon Horde War. But they lost out to our winner, Agrathar, the fight that changed wormhole meta. A very in-depth video battle report, I would call it, partially cinematic, partially informative, outlining a major clash between wormhole alliances that changed the game. He won with a very convincing majority of votes. And I've watched it. It's a tremendous video.
Yeah, that's cool. I can see it going either way, but yeah, I can see that. I agree. Yeah.
I think, especially with a lot of the things that are happening in the media and kind of creation space surrounding other MMOs, EVE has a lot of ground to cover in terms of catching up to the production quality you see around games these days. So it's good to see that being recognized.
Yeah, there's a lot of investment of time and energy to make that thing look better and polished. I agree.
The coveted Dev of the Year award. We had 4 devs up for this award. CCP Jotun, CCP Karkor, CCP Rampant, and our winner, by a wide margin, CCP Okami.
I'm not really shocked at all by that one. I mean, that's like, yeah, I kind of like felt like that would be the way it went.
Likewise, I think I said something else on my prediction, but like community outreach is just going to be, hard to beat in this category.
Yeah, that's true. But well done.
Yeah, congratulations, Okami. Well deserved. I think he was the face of a lot of positive, game changes this year. And I kind of agree. I think he would have gotten my vote this year.
I got to respect anybody who's willing to stand in front of EVE Online's player base and just face tank that shit,
Yeah, especially when those proposed changes don't go well. I think CCP had a pretty... I'm not really aware of any, expansion misfires. Kind of the Cenotaph was shipped in a buffed state. But that's good. I think a new ship should be strong and get nerfed down. That's kind of the League of Legends approach to champion balance. You want your new thing to be impactful and exciting, get everybody really hyped about it, then you can always tune it down later. If you ship it pre-nerfed, then it's it kind of kills the hype. So I totally get it. I'm on board for it, and I think the Catalyst expansion did really, really well. So congrats to Okami here.
Totally agree.
Turning our eye not from devs, but to our fellow EVE community members. The Community Hero Award, very competitive this year. We had a lot of folks doing charity work this year. We had Yintan doing the Charity Cup tournament, but he got edged out by just 2 votes to the 24-hour charity streamer, Shadek.
Very cool. I didn't actually catch that stream, but well done.
Yeah, likewise. Not much to say here. It's a community vote, community competition, and glad to see efforts being recognized.
I think it's a level of commitment from both of them, really, to put that together. Anytime you're running an event like a tournament, the level of commitment you have to put in on the organization front end is substantial. And then to do a 24-hour stream, it's like for any game, really. I mean, you probably could do a little bit of prep ahead of time, but really it's like a game day. You have to be there and engaged and hyped the whole time, no sleep. It's an achievement. So, from someone who has seen many a streamer attempt it and a handful of them not do so successfully, I do have to give Shadek the credit there. I didn't catch the stream myself. Well, I actually know I caught a brief bit of it, but nowhere near the 24-hour amount. I was there for 20 minutes. But shout out to him. That's an amazing achievement. And shout out to Yin Tan. Thank you for putting the charity cup together. We can always do with more EVE player-run tournaments. I think it's a great tribute to the community and keeps the game vibrant and interesting. And, the more we can do for ourselves and not have to rely on CCP, the better. And the coveted Brisk Rubal Award for Best CSM Representative. We had Young Puke. We had Dujek One Eye. We had Drake Eden. But the overwhelming winner with nearly 60% of the vote, the Wormhole CSM himself, Mick Fightmaster, friend of the show.
Hell yeah.
Congratulations.
I love that. Mick I like him. He's good people, and I mean, I like almost all of the CSM, but Mick really has impressed me because he's clearly willing to listen and engage with people, and I don't think that's easy. I mean, I alluded to it before. Engaging with EVE players is not easy, so well done, Mick.
Yeah, I gotta give him a shout out. Also a shout out to Young Puke. If you had asked me blind vote between the two of them, I couldn't tell you. I had a feeling it'd probably be one of them. They're both extremely visible in terms of getting player feedback from alliance leaders and major entities and people in their respective areas of the game. I know Puke has been super active trying to test out game mechanics, and he runs a low-sec alliance, but when the whole drone lands thing was going down, he's like, all right, I'm going to take a system just to mess around with these mechanics and see, to learn from my perspective so I can better talk to the nullsec CSMs, to the devs that are working on SOV issues and things like that. And he is relentless at proactively organizing players to give CCP feedback, not just about the topics of the day, but things that the CSM might be working on long term. But Mick does a lot of that too for the Wormhole community, which is one of the most unsung and overlooked groups. I mean, they just got a little quality of life buff with the changes to wormholes, where now it tells you roughly how long the wormhole has left, and the times that it gives you actually align to your bookmark expiring timers. So if a wormhole has 4 hours left, you could say, we're bookmark expire in a couple hours, which is huge. And that is the best update that's happened to wormholes in years. So they don't really get a lot of love, but you wouldn't think that from Mick. He has a heart big enough for every dev.
Well deserved, and congratulations, Mick.
Now, this was normally one of our most competitive categories, Declarations of War Best Guess. It was a frickin' blowout this year. Shout out to Dr. Nicholas Wright, who does not play EVE, and appeared on our show, and gave one of the more interesting episodes I think we've ever done. But the community has spoken with over 50% of the vote. Once again, CCP Okami, Declarations of War Best Guess 2025.
Oh, Okami going home with the twofer, huh?
Yeah, the double.
I mean, not at all surprised, haven't seen the episode.
They call him Okami Two Belts.
Oh my god. Did you really? Okay. But I think it's cool. I love seeing that Okami won it. I'm going to admit I'm a little disappointed that Dr. Bright didn't get it, but I understand why. But that episode was so good. I really so enjoyed his interview, and I'm really glad that the show got some subject matter experts on things that intersect with EVE that aren't directly in EVE. And I think that's a great thing. We should probably try and do more of that. But all that said, congratulations to Okami. That's pretty cool.
I mean, the Dr. Wright coming on, I think, was a milestone for us in a lot of ways. He, like you said, not part of the EVE community. he reached out to us, wanted to come on the show, which is a huge milestone, I think, for an Eve podcast in general. I mean, that may have happened before, but I'm not off the top of my head aware of it, and certainly not someone who's worked for the Pentagon. So that was fucking cool. And I think even if folks maybe didn't say it was the best guest, I think it absolutely hands down is one of the most unique episodes we've ever done. Top 3 to 5 for sure. If you haven't heard it, I really encourage you to check it out. It's super cool. It talks about the motivations of why people get into conflict, and we bring it into Eve, and he has some fascinating insights on how wars start, how they continue, and how to win them. So that was super cool. Wow, just Okami. I mean, the episode was that good.
So completely agree. I would love to see more guests. Like I said before, I think we need to look into that. Reach out to people who have expertise in things like economics and conflict and stuff like that, and see if they might be interested in talking about it in a different way.
Yeah, definitely something we can be looking into. I thought we should do like at least one episode like that every year. You know what I mean? Like, go out and find a cool academic or author or journalist or whatevs and try to pull them in. I think that'd be neat.
I love it. Okay, we're going to do this. But for now, I think we need to finish the awards.
Yes. All right. The next two are Noir Inside Baseball. Just humorous, you guys. Noir MVP, Most Valuable Player 2025. I was nominated again. It was flatteringly close. Thank you, everyone that voted for me. But the winner, and I think quite fittingly, Aikio 58.
Woo! Congratulations.
Huge congratulations to Aikio. Aikio being a EU time zone pilot like myself, I've been on a lot of his fleets, and they're always a blast. Aikio has a fantastic demeanor when running fleets. He's cool, collected, and calm. Everything you would want in an FC, and definitely everything you'd want in someone generating content for Noir. So, don't hurt me here, Alec, but it's a very deserved MVP award.
No, I think it is. Even as looking at it from the CEO lens, and no shade to Wolf, he just wasn't nominated, so I'm gushing about Aikio for right now. I've really come to, Wolf is our other EU director, I've really come to rely on Aikio for a lot of things. And I think for the whole Noir Academy, Noir Militia thing, there's a whole backstory there. I don't know if I want to get into it, but there was a false start on the Noir Militia where it got launched. Someone was really excited about making all these changes to how we ran Noir Academy. And then I was like, all right, well, I wasn't 100% on board with the concept, but this person had energy. They had the vision. I'm like, I got to delegate this. This guy's got the drive to see it succeed. Let's give it a shot. And I put a ton of support behind it. We put a ton of prep behind it, 3 weeks of work. And I promoted on the show and everything. And then as it launched, the guy that volunteered to run it, disappeared. And, we had a couple recruits that were in the lurch. So it wasn't a great experience for them. And we're like, oh, well, we're just going to go back to the academy. What are we doing with this? And Aikio stepped up and said, no, I'm going to own this. I'm going to make sure that it's a success. I'm going to take it on my shoulders. And he and I collaborated on a new vision for it and launched it. And I think it's been an incredible success so far. We'll talk about maybe more of of how that's going on the next episode. Got a lot more show to get to here. But yeah, super happy with Aikio. He's been a really valued confidant whenever I need something. I know that I can trust him with it. He stepped up to, take leadership roles, not just in the European time zone, but kind of in general with the Alliance and stuff. Times when I've been sick or moving. And he and Wolf and Marlowe are such a great team together. It's been great. So I'm very, very fortunate to have him. I think it's extremely well deserved. Thank you, IKEA.
Very nice. And I've had limited interactions with him, but every one of them has been positive. So, I think I was in one of his fleets, but I can't say for sure, so I don't want to say for sure. But, yeah. I haven't ever had a bad experience in a Noir fleet, except the one Alec ran where I got my Talos blown up, but I knew it was going to get blown up, so, just mess
One
with
of those things. Yeah, if you felt like you were being guided by a soft, caressing hand on a gentle, loving grace, then you were in an IKEA fleet.
I will say this, he's got too much of a soft spot sometimes. He has saved many a member from my wrath, and not always for the best.
Well, if
maybe
that was...
that's partially for my fault for listening to him, but...
If I owe IKEA one here, I'm gonna have to buy him a beer later.
My temper and tolerance for stupidity is infamously low, but IKEA is like, oh no, Alec, give him another chance. Oh, please don't kick him out. I'll talk to him. That's happened quite a few times. All right, and finally, Noir Rookie of the Year, category open only to folks who have had less than a year in Noir. So they had to have joined the Corp in the year 2025 to be eligible. We had 4 candidates. Despite my best efforts to get more people to vote and break this tie, it is tied. I don't know this has ever happened in like 10 years of doing these awards. We have a tie vote. It is tied between our very own co-host, Aster Iris, and Paul Clavette, who just got elevated to director status recently.
Oh no, not versus Paul. That's cold, Alec. You're putting me on the spot here.
Well, you both kind of gotten promoted, quote unquote. You got picked to be a co-host. He got picked to be a director. You've both had I think, an incredible year and an incredible impact on the Corp in the time you've been with us. I couldn't pick a winner between you, and apparently neither could the audience.
I know Aster pretty well, or at least relatively well, from working with him on the co-host of stuff and, talking on Discord a bit and so forth. I have interacted with Paul a few times, and they've always been good interactions, very positive, but I don't know him that well. I don't know if I feel qualified to weigh in on this at all, but congratulations to both.
So I'm in the exact opposite boat. Like I've worked with Paul quite a lot, and I think he's a great FC, and he does a lot of behind the scenes work for Noir that goes underappreciated. Him and also Icarus as well, his friend that he brought over, are basically the logistical backbone of a lot of Noir deployments recently in terms of wormhole scanning and getting things shipped in. This Aster guy on the van, I had no idea. I don't even know how he got on the ballot, to be quite honest with you.
Well, okay, I'll say I've dealt with Icarus, and he's completely great. I love what he does. But let's be fair to you, Aster. You have been really doing a yeoman's work in bringing stuff for the show and talking about it in our staff Discord and all that. And I don't think anybody's really said thank you for that. But you've really been helping make this show work. So don't cut yourself too short, my friend.
Well, I think
thank you.
The poll. Like, how do we resolve this dispute? Because, like I said, we've never had a tie. Somehow, we've been doing this for 9 or 10 years. We've never had a tie. I think we're going to ask the audience, like, how do we resolve this? Should they both get the award? Does neither of them get the award? Do they have to 1v1? Let's find out.